Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. This is Kevin, the carpet guy. That's right. Here we are today on another job. Yesterday, I did this big old family room. I don't know if you can see all that well, but I ended up doing this one. It was like a 23 by like 18. So it was a good sized room. Today, we're going to tackle this big room. I don't know if you can see it all that well, but there it is. It's like a 23 foot by 12, so it's gonna drop. There is a little nook right here that I'll have to do a seam for. So I'll show you how we do that. Anyways, let's get started. All right, so this is the room we're gonna tackle first. It's a 12 by 23 into the back closet there. So we'll start off by tearing up some carpet. I like cutting it up into at least 6 foot wide so it fits in the back of my carpet or my truck. So it'll be for easy transportation. So I'll go ahead and get going on it. Got all the carpet torn up. So we move on to the next step. Before I go on, I always check the tack strip, make sure it's all in place and all solid. Nice secure to the concrete floor. But in this room, it looks like we're missing some. So let me show you over here in the nook. Looks like we're missing some there. And then there's kind of like to have my tack strip set up a little bit better than that. Whoever did that really just was in a hurry and just threw it down. And then there's another piece right there. So we'll go ahead and put those in and go from there. All right. Usually just cut it to size. Won't have to worry that there's not a nail in this one, because I'm just going to put my own in. Got these guys here, 5/8 concrete with 10 gauge. So we're using these guys. There we go. Usually go around, check, make sure that it's nice and solid. All right, I think we're ready to put down some pad. We'll go ahead and get going on it. Let's do this. Before you put down the carpet, you want to make sure that you go around. This is before you put the pad down as well. Inspect the floor, make sure everything is good to go, that there's no gaps in the pad, the seams. I know a lot of the guys will actually duct tape them, or that way they don't overlap on top of each other when you're bringing in carpet or whatnot, but I usually do a pretty good job at gluing it. Make sure Another thing you want to do is make sure, we call these camo pieces. Can't see it, right? But there's a piece right there. See that? That will make a difference. Customer will feel that under their feet. So you got to make sure that you get everything. There's another little piece over here I remember seeing. Where'd it go? Oh, there's one. I think that's it. So we're gonna go ahead and bring in some carpet and go from there. Alright, with this being Berber, I do like to have it parallel with the wall. So the best thing to do is take off the webbing at the factory edge. That way you can get a nice visual sight on how it's lining up with the wall. That way you can get the pattern straight. So it doesn't look like you're walking sideways down a room or a hallway. So after you got the carpet in the room square and straight, then you can start making some cuts. Being a Berber, I don't like to do too many, because after you start stretching, things might move around. And when that happens, you could be ending up short in some areas. So just go ahead and get this in. And we'll figure out the seam to the doorway. Alright. So yesterday I set this hallway. So I know this hallway is nice and straight. So we'll go ahead and cut the corners of these doors. And from there, we will get this side. We'll start here, and we will get this side straight edged. And then we'll do this side. First, what you want to do is make sure that the seam is directly underneath the door. All right, to do this seam, I use two tools. I've got this carpet awl, made by Crane. And then I've got the row finder top cutter, a nice little blade right there. With this style of carpet, we always top cut the carpet. That way you're going down the rows and not cross-cutting the Berbers. So we'll go ahead and do that. Make sure you always put it in between the doors, or right directly below the door again. Also, you want to look at the pattern and kind of choose a spot where you think you can match it up and find the spot on this other carpet. So I usually start with one of the sides that have like the end of a triangle, or just something I know where I can find it on the other carpet. And then you just run this down and make sure it's straight. As you can see, I didn't quite make it under the door, so we're going to move it over a little bit. No big deal, just start over. Look at that. There we go. Now we're underneath. Usually go a couple of times running this down the row, Even sometimes what I'll do is I'll even bring the carpet back away from the door if you're able to, and give yourself some room. And from there, you can actually row find all the way to the end of the carpet without having the door in the way. So from there, grab your row finder. Since you made that groove in between the rows, you always start it here on the end and run it down. I usually go nice and easy, that way I can watch and make sure that it doesn't jump or cross into the next row over. And from there, sometimes you have to use your knife to finish off the cut. And that's how you do one of the seams. Now the other side, this being a pattern that doesn't have a huge seam or a huge pattern, I'll end up cutting it a little big. That way I can line it up. Get the pattern lined up with this other one. Throw that out of the way for now. So from there, you can kind of set it down here and kind of get an idea of what direction it needs to go. And if you can see, let's see if I can't get you close. You can kind of see on this pattern there is a big square, and the big square, and it has a little square, a big square, little square. So it has kind of a big row that goes this direction, and then the next line is a little row that goes this direction. So you have to make sure that these lines line up. So we'll get working on it. Right there, I found my pattern there. Now we just need to match it up with this side, and I have found it there. Sometimes it takes a good eye to find these sometimes, because sometimes they are hard to find when they're such a little pattern like this. But believe me, if you don't get it right, you will see it. So, that being said, and I always row find it, get an idea of where it's at. I will cut these down so I will know where to end it. There we go. And then I will do the same thing I did with the hallway and bring it back, flop it over. From there, I will have plenty of workspace. Make sure I get a nice row. Right there. And then from there, you can finish it off. Usually like to go back and forth different directions. There we go. This is what it looks like before I cut it. So we get the row finder, or the row top cutter. So there, we will start here and push down. Sometimes at the end you don't want to cut the carpet that's underneath, so I'll finish off with my knife. So after that, you have to make adjustments. You have to make adjustments because like right now, this piece of carpet is overlapped and this one is gapped. So what do? You've got to move this carpet over a little bit to make sure the pattern is lined up and straight. So what you want to do with your kicker is adjust things accordingly. Just keep in mind when you're bringing the carpet or moving the carpet that you don't kick it short from your cuts earlier. So like over here, so we're almost parallel. We will do this. There we go. There we go. All right, from there, since you get it parallel, then you look at your pattern to see what direction it needs to go. And it looks like I just need to go this way and this way 1/4 inch. Let's see if we can't make it over. Just like that. Oh, looks like we need to go that way. Now I kicked it over too far. Just a little bit more. There we go. That's better. There. Perfect. Awesome, awesome. Let me give you a good look into my seamer here. I've had this guy for probably 15 years. With all that glue, the drip that comes off. Like I know you're supposed to clean them up every once in a while. And I have. You should see it sometimes. So, look at that. So we'll let that heat up. Red light means it's turning up the temperature. The temperature's going up. I usually burn it between 3 and 4, usually a good safe spot to have it. You don't want to burn it too hot too fast because you will burn the carpet or the backing will curl up and then it will make your seam short. So we'll let that heat up. While that's heating up, we'll put some seam tape underneath the seam. Here, the seam tape has some lines in the center of it. Usually it's a darker line. That way you know you're in the center of it, the center of your seam when you're doing them. So you always set your pad. So the center of the seam is going to be directly underneath. Also, before you do the seam, you got to make sure you seam seal this Berber. That way you don't get any frays. All right, I'll show you again. On this other piece, you find the pattern and run the carpet all. I've seen installers use pens, pencils, anything with I've seen screwdrivers. So make sure you make your nice little row. From there, make sure, especially if you have it over the top of existing carpet that's going in, is you put on something underneath it. I usually can get away with not doing that, but I'll just do it for you guys. That way you guys can see if you were to do this, you'd be able to put something down. That way you don't run the risk of cutting too deep and running and scarring the top of this other carpet that's going in, because that will happen if you push too hard. So make sure you run it down this row. That's why you always put something underneath it, especially if you haven't done it ever before. That way you don't have to worry about cutting through to the other carpet. We'll get to stretching here in a minute. We gotta let these seams dry. But meanwhile, let me just show you. I don't know if you see it in the video, but I wanted to show you how the lines are lining up. Turned out awesome. Turned out awesome. Kind of hard to see. Well, you can see that one a little better. That's right. I went right over the seam. Didn't even see it. Beautiful. We got all those done. So now that the carpet is seamed up, and now you always want to check, make sure there's no heat coming through before you stretch. Once it's cooled down to room temperature, you know it's go time to start stretching. So here we go. All right, let's go ahead and walk around and show you what we finished up here. Everything turned out really good, nice and smooth on this job. Nothing too extreme and hard. Seams turned out great. They turned out awesome. The lines are matching up. Kind of pretty. Everything looks good. There's the other seam. Kind of dark in there. So, but think that'll be good for this job. Stay tuned. There'll be more to come.